Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hi-Fi Preschool and Kids Weekly Training Podcast. We are so excited that you are here, and we are so excited that we are continuing to celebrate God's greatest gift through the month of December as we get closer and closer to Christmas. And I'm so glad for everyone joining me here today. Here with us, we have Kayla and we have Frank. Now, Frank, this is his first time here on the podcast. Frank is one of our digital content specialists. He helps with the media. He does a lot of the music that you hear for Hi-Fi. Frank, we are so happy to have you today.
I am so excited to be here today. I've listened to the podcast from afar so long. I'm excited to be on here and joining you guys talking about this month. So let's get into it.
Well, this month we are talking about how Jesus is the greatest gift. And this week specifically, we are really leaning into that idea that Jesus is the greatest gift we could ever receive. So, Frank, I'm going to start with you actually, since this is your first time on the podcast. What is the coolest gift you have ever given someone?
Okay, so this is a gift that I gave to my sister when we were growing up. So she really, really wanted this special doll. I don't know if you guys remember the Bratz dolls from when you guys were younger. Like, they were so cool back in, the early 2000s. And so I had saved up all my extra money. I got this Brat doll together, and I gave it to her on Christmas. She opened it up, and she realized it was the wrong one that she didn't actually want.
Oh, no!
But she loved it still. She still had it for a long time, but it was still a great gift to be able to have in a good story. So it was fun.
Awesome.
That's so much fun. Kayla, what about you? Best gift you've ever given someone?
Let's see. So the gift that comes to mind, it's not a Christmas gift, but it was a Mother's Day gift. So I gave my mom a gift around Mother's Day, around the time that I was graduating high school, and our graduation pictures looked kind of similar. And so I went to a photographer and I got them to take her graduation picture and my graduation picture and mesh them together. And I'm kind of on-looking her. So it's this kind of cool poetic moment of walking in her footsteps. And so I had that framed for our 2 graduation pictures together. So that was a really special gift to get to share.
That is really cool. I don't think I ever would have thought of that. I wish that gift giving was like a spiritual gift of mine, but I don't think it is not my number one for sure. For sure. I've given some fun gifts. But yeah, nothing quite as amazing as that. Well, this week we are talking about how God has given us all an amazing gift. And with preschoolers and kids alike, sometimes they can get caught up in all of the excitement, all of the craziness, all of the I wants of that Christmas season of saying, hey, this is my wish list. This is what I want to get. But this week, we want to really focus on the gift that God gave to us, that gift of Jesus. So, Kayla, I'm going to start with you with this question. How can an understanding of Jesus as the greatest gift impact the forever faith of a child or a preschooler?
Yeah, that's a fun question. We think about all of the different pitfalls that are potential for Christmas time. And, it's fun to get caught up and swept up in the moments of culture. And I think it's fun, even with kids and preschoolers, to talk about the joy that we get with our families and the fun things like decorating the Christmas tree or going to see all the Christmas lights and enjoying hot chocolate and the moments that we get to share together. And they get to be an opportunity for us to talk about, why do we celebrate Christmas? What's the reason? Why are we just doing this because we like hot chocolate and we like being together and we like presents? And it becomes really a turning point and an opportunity for us as followers of Jesus to talk about why we celebrate Christmas as Christians and as believers, and how we can still participate in some of the things that our culture is doing, those that aren't, against what Scripture teaches, but that the greatest gift, the whole reason that we do this is to celebrate Jesus, that God sent Jesus to be with us. And so I think it's really helpful as we, as parents and as leaders, really talk with our kids about the Christmas season and what's coming up and all the fun things that we get to do, that we just lean in and help kids remember the focus of why we as followers of Jesus celebrate Christmas versus just celebrating Christmas as a culture. And being able to help our kids and our preschoolers really be culturally aware of what's happening around us, what's happening with our friends, what's happening in the world, and being able to call some of those things out of why we celebrate Christmas differently, why we celebrate Christmas as the coming of Jesus, the celebration of him being the greatest gift to us, and that being something that we can share with the world around us.
For sure, Kayla. I love that. And I kind of want to actually double click into our theme verse this month. It is Matthew 1:23b, and it is, they will name him Emmanuel, God with us. And through this month, we are learning the truth, I am never alone. And with preschoolers, we're learning how God is always with me. And this truth that God sent Jesus, God sent him to be Emmanuel, God with us, is such an amazing truth that we get to share with kids and preschoolers this month. Now, with the Bible story that we are going to look at in this Christmas season, you might be looking at it and saying, wait, why are we doing that Bible story? Because this is the story of the wise men visiting Jesus. And I don't know about you, but I'm a little bit of a wise men purist, okay? Whenever we set up nativity scenes in my house growing up, I had to be sure that the wise men in their tents were over on the piano, while the nativity scene with the animals and the lambs were in the living room, and I would not let my family mix them because they weren't there yet. So I've always, and that was like 10-year-old Isaac, so we knew there was going to be a problem.
That's amazing.
But so I've always been a wise man purist, but I'm actually really excited about us being able to unpack this story right now, because we know that a lot of Christmas schedules, a lot of Christmas seasons are a little bit different in how you figure things out at your church. Maybe you have a Christmas Eve service, maybe you have a service right before Christmas, and we wanted to be sure that the story that we were highlighting next week and the third week of High Five this year is that Jesus was born, the story from Luke 2. So to be able to adequately hit that at the right point, we put Jesus is the Son of God, that Jesus was born next week. That will be next week's story, the Luke 2 story that you'll be able to unpack and share with all of the kids that are there during your Christmas services. But this week, we didn't want to miss the truth of how the wise men came, how they visited Jesus, and how they brought this whole prophecy that Isaiah had said. They brought the words that they had learned, and they wanted to come see Emmanuel for themselves. So this week, we are looking at the wise men. We are looking at this story. We know that it's out of order, but we think it's really important that kids hear it during the Christmas season. So Frank, in this Bible story this week, we will talk about the wise men. We're going to talk about them visiting Jesus. We're going to talk about their conversations with Herod. We're going to talk about them finding Jesus, bringing him gifts. So what are some things that we should be aware of as we prepare to teach this amazing story?
Yeah, I think for me, one of the things I love about this story so much is there's so much excitement with this story, right? That these wise men hear about the thing they've been hearing about for years and years and years, that this Messiah that has come to the world, this gift to us, is here. And I think that's why it's such a perfect time to do the story, is talking about the excitement of these wise men going out and seeing who Jesus is, and talking about how important it really was for them to walk such a long way to get there. It wasn't just, oh, we're gonna go walk around the corner. This was miles and miles and days that they were walking to see this Messiah, because they were so excited for this gift to see who Jesus was. So
that is so true. I also love, as we continue to talk about this story, that it wasn't just a thing that they saw a star, but they had seen signs, they had seen wonders, They had seen everything that God had promised. This isn't something that God just woke up and decided to send his son one day, but this is true, amazing evidence that God had a plan, and those pieces of the plan were coming together. Different things of all of that were coming together to show that God was sending Jesus for a purpose, that God was sending Jesus for us so that we can have a relationship with him. And even the wise men, when they arrived, they showed up and they went to the king, because that's where they thought Jesus would be. They thought he would be in the palace. They thought that the king would know exactly where he would be. but it also shows that God had a different plan, and how God's plans don't always align with our plans, and how Jesus was not born in the palace, but he was born to a carpenter. He was born to a family of less stature than the wise men might have expected. But God's plan was perfect, and we get to see that through this story. And on top of all of that, they brought gifts. So they brought gifts for Jesus. They brought the gold, they brought the frankincense, they brought the myrrh, and all of those things were to show not only who Jesus was at that time, but also who Jesus would grow up to be. And I think that is so important in this story. So in our culture, as we're seeing the next, the newest, the coolest thing, as we see all of these amazing things that are just flashing on our ads on social media, that are flashing in TV commercials, that I'm like, ooh, that seems really, really cool. How can this truth that I am never alone, how can we understand that God is always with us, and how can that impact a child's identity more than the things that we see around us?
Yeah, this is such a good question. I think like as we talk about I don't know. I think even in our adult hearts, right? It's so easy to get caught up in the trappings of Christmas. Like, I don't know about you guys, but as soon as November 1st hit, like I'm looking at Black Friday ads, I'm prepping my Christmas list. I'm looking to see like, all right, who am I buying for what this year? Like it's so easy for us to get caught up in that as well. And the same is true for our kids. But I think, living that out side by side with kids and walking alongside them in just everyday life, whether that be, what are our conversations about? What are the things that we're excited about and talking about? Is it what are you going to get for Christmas? Or is it, hey, are you excited about giving for Christmas? Who is it that you want to help and love and serve and care about this Christmas? So I think just changing the conversation some is really helpful. And the more we can do that on that micro level, it just helps kids and preschoolers and ourselves just reorient our own perspective in a very practical way of how we can keep the right focus at Christmas time, that this really is about celebrating and worshiping God. There may be devotionals that you can resource your families with. There are things that you can provide of just opportunities that they can take a minute and refocus for a second. And I think anything that we can do on that practical stance just reinforces who we are made to be, and that identity piece for kids and preschoolers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I also think just leaning into the idea of how intangible things are when it comes around Christmas a lot of times. If we think about the next fun present that's coming for Christmas, we think about, oh, we've got that really nice coffee that's coming out for the Christmas time. All these things that, that fade away. But talking about how God is always with us, that we are never alone, and that is forever, right? And whenever you have a relationship with God, that's for you forever. And talking with kids, having understanding that is the thing, that's such an important thing to talk about.
That's awesome. Well, I am so excited for this next week of Hi-Fi. I'm excited that I get to teach this in my church. I'm excited that you all get to go out and get to share this with your kids, that Jesus is the greatest gift and that he is always with us. So we are continuing to pray for you. We are continuing to be here. If you need us, if you have any questions, let us know. You can join us on the Hi-Fi Facebook group. That's the best place to connect with us. But until next time, we'll talk to you later. Bye.